Welcome to the third session in my series on paragraphing. And today I want to get straight in. I want to look at the features of Writer's Toolbox as they pertain to paragraphing. And in particular, I'd like to show you two features in depth. I'd like to show you how to attach a PDF to a task for a student. And in addition, I'd quite like to show you our notebook tool and the sort of technology that we built around that tool and what students might do with it. Now, the paragraph I want to close this series on is the hammer paragraph. Last week, in our earlier sessions, I talked to you about the need for students to have at their fingertips or in their disposal, a range of paragraph styles. We've looked at the lawyer, we've looked at the compare contrast paragraph, that wonderful paragraph form that allows insightfulness and perceptiveness to come to the fore. And today, I'd like to build a task for the third paragraph form in my sights, and that is the hammer. I've done this on purpose. If you think about the student's development, and especially through primary school years, there are three paragraph styles that a child should master by the time they conclude their time at primary school and just about to enter high school, or certainly the end of their intermediate years in New Zealand. And they are the lawyer, which gives them a straight line form, also the compare contrast, and then finally the hammer. What I quite like the hammer is that it gives the child another way to express their thoughts. And later on in the series, we will come to the conclusion as well. I'd like to do these three sort of key paragraph structures that you get quite a lot of mileage off. But yes, I do intend later as we progress this program to look specifically over the next couple of weeks at how do you teach a child to cast introduction firmly and well, and then also how do you teach this thing called the conclusion so they don't just end up repeating themselves, which is just a disaster, not why the conclusion was invented in the first place. So let's get straight in. I'll write this thing called the hammer. So what you can see here is my dashboard now as a teacher dash on Writer's Toolbox. And I'm going to create a task. So I'll go up to the task icon, click that, and create a new task. What I'd like to do is I'd like to build a task based on the Battle of Britain. I've got a unit we're running in school, and I'm going to get these students prepared to do something on the Battle of Britain. It's certainly coming to that time of year again when it started historically. And so we're going to do something here. Your paragraph. Let's call it Battle of Britain. And the task, here we go. Tell me about the Spitfire. Now, for those of you who don't know, the Spitfire is one of the sort of the key British fighter aircraft used during the Battle of Britain. The second one, the mainstay, of course, was the Hawker Hurricane, but we'll focus on the Spitfire today. And why this plane was so useful in the Battle of Britain to get things going. Cast me a hammer paragraph. So that's my task out to the class. Now we're going to pick the sequence. Once again, I don't really want them to do a mind map or a box plan. We'll come to those, especially in the second part of this week. I want to delve into them in detail. If we get a chance, certainly tomorrow. But the writing tool we're going to use as we select our writing tool is, I'm just going to leave it on free writer today. We'll worry about the paragraph structure in particular. We'll We'll unburden it now, but I'll show you how you can still see all those tools in the additional writing tools here in Writer's Toolbox. So we'll go Free Writer. We'll now pick the tools the student will see around the outside of this task, and I'm definitely going to add a checklist. Remember these things. The first checklist item is this. Remember to use facts in your first 3 sentences. That's essential. Here's another one. Don't forget to check your spelling and I put some handy phrases in the keywords. That's my checklist for this task. Now we'll build the keyword list, and this is quite useful because certainly around the Battle of Britain, I can actually throw some words in that even my students might struggle with. Keywords, well, labels would be good. RAF. Spitfire would be good. And let's just put in Hawker Hurricane. The German Luftwaffe was, of course, the opposing air force. That's tricky to spell. I'd probably fluff it here, but let's stick it in anyway. Now, those are the keywords that I think might be useful. What about this? What about this PDF? Well, because I can't see it here. That's in fact because it's at the start. When I begin to build my task, I can also select, as we've done many times, the year level. I can select the word limit for the particular task, and today I'm just going to put 100. I can put in my due date, which is the end of the month, and I can attach a PDF. Now I've built one here earlier on today called Spitfire. So we'll attach that task to this particular activity. Attach the task to that activity. I think I've got John next door on his internet again. Well, let him gurgle away. I'll try once more, see if he'll actually get off. There we go, 3rd time lucky. There's my PDF attached to my task. And I'll go back to my sequence, we pick that, that's all intact. Tools, we're underway. The lovely thing about this, you see these things will just save, it doesn't matter, I can jump around my order and they're still there. The sentence styles, well, I'm happy for all those sentence styles to remain. The paragraph we want them to actually focus on is the hammer. That's there. The others, I'm okay. I don't need the scientist for this. I don't particularly need an introduction to show. The lawyer, nor the compare contrast. There's the hammer. That's what's going to show up. Images. Now, this is a really handy function, especially with a task like this. So I've got some images here I found this morning on the Spitfire. There's one. This is quite useful. Put this one in too. It's a great color shot here. And of course, something there of the boys themselves, men and women, well, in this case, the men of the RAF, all dressed up, ready to fly. And there's my task starting to take shape. I can now preview my task. and I'm going to go now and send and share it. And the class I'd actually like to send it to is my Writing 101 class, and send it off to them. So that task is now built and sent. Let's go to Writing 101 and log in and see what I find. Boris was the student I used last week. I did promise not to use Boris so much this week, but he'll do for today. Log in. Now, there's a couple of ways on Writer's Toolbox the student knows they've been sent a piece of work. One is I can just jump into tasks there straight away. And there is my Battle of Britain task waiting for me to do. There's a lovely image of a Spitfire there. It's just picked one of the images that I loaded up. Actually, it's the first one I loaded up and already created it for the task quite elegantly like that. The other way, I'll just show you here, I can go back to the main and the student's been sent a notification to say, look, you've got a new task assigned to you. It's right at the top, this Battle of Britain task here. So let's jump in as the student and try and do this task. Tell me about the Spitfire and when this plane was so useful in the Battle of Britain to get things going. Cast me a hammer paragraph. Well, you can see here already, as I move the screen around, the hammer paragraph there, I'd like to bring to the top. At any stage, usefully, if the student wants to watch a video on a particular paragraph style, they can. They just click the play button there and up comes the video. Don't want to hear that bloke speaking twice to you in the same day, but you can try that at home. And of course, I can drop this menu down here and see an example of that particular paragraph style. I've got my keywords over here and my checklist as well. All the elements I need on my page to get things going. Now, we built a PDF for these students that could help them with the task at hand. You'll see at the top bar of Writer's Toolbox, the main icons across the top, there's now one activated called Resource, and it says PDF. I'll just click on that, and immediately what has dropped down to the bottom of my screen, automatically downloaded, has been this PDF on the Spitfire. There's a lovely question from Marie. Hi, Marie. See, I promised you, I made a promise last week that I'd get far better at doing this, these Q&As. Yes, Marie, thank you for your question. Is there a bank of resources you can have access to these examples I made? Well, there isn't, but the good news is that, of course, any resource that you make on Writer's Toolbox, you can automatically send that to any teacher in the entire Writer's Toolbox community. So, Marie, if you write in very nicely with your email address that's an email activated in the Writer's Toolbox system, I'll send you the resource and it will pop into your own Shared With Me tasks box. Anyway, here's my Spitfire. Now, let me tell you about this resource for a second and why I built it the way I have. We're obviously doing this unit in class on the Spitfire, and one of the things that I want my students to grasp importantly through this exercise is the centrality of facts, how important it is to actually have facts to help drive what you're trying to say, for two reasons. In analytical writing, facts, of course, are what drive deduction. The student can actually have insights and make perceptions based on concrete facts. Facts are what allow you to weigh the merit of things or see its emphasis or weigh its importance. In narrative writing, facts are the anchor for the imagination. Now, I'll say more of that as the weeks progress, but this task on the Battle of Britain, the child needs an adequate bank of facts on which to begin to cement their paragraph response and give it teeth. Otherwise, we get the right thing talked about, but it's just too waffly. So here we go. There's my Spitfire task. And what I'm going to do is, if I move it to one side as a separate window altogether, I can begin to arrange my window here see the things I want to see, and you can see everything at once as well. I'll bring him in like that. You can see the Spitfire over here, and I'll just make that larger so that you can see everything at once. How's that? You've got the task at hand. We have the PDF to one side of your screen, and now I can start to write and compose this piece. And it wants me to use the Hammer paragraph. So let's just bring the Hammer up here so I can have easy access to it as a student. 3 sentences of facts is the first thing the Hammer paragraph is suggesting I write. So let's just do that. Let's just throw a few sentences down with lots of facts. Here we go. By the time of the Battle of Britain, and I've looked across here, I'm looking across here at my PDF, and I can see, look, it's from July to October 1940. So let's put this in July 1940. Now I don't want to spell Royal Air Force, I'll probably fluff it. Great thing about keywords is I can go across, just click on one, and it drops straight in. You've done all the hard work with the student on some of those tricky technical terms. And now you just keep on typing. Had 372 Spitfires. And I'll get another fact from this handy task here. And you can see the third paragraph down. The other plane used by the RAF was the Hawker Hurricane. The Royal Air Force had 709 Hurricanes as they were cheaper and faster to build, but the Spitfire could climb and roll. Oh yes, well, this is causing a lot of questions, isn't it? Did you make the resource yourself, Louise? Hello, Louise, lovely to have you. Yes, I did make the resource myself because I was conscious of the students I was working with, and you know, you struggle with this yourself. I mean, you go on and they Google, they find stuff that's misplaced, the language is wrong, it's too high, or there's not enough detail in it. So eventually you have to sort of end up curating something like this yourself. It doesn't take long. You know the students you're working with, and you can produce something like this. 73 Spitfires, and 709. Oops, 707, 709 Hurricanes. Dragon Hawker Hurricanes in its fighter aircraft. Right, next one. Next sentence, that's sentence 1. The Spitfire had a top speed of, now I'll just jump across my facts here, 594 kilometers per hour. Which was 50 faster than the Hurricane. I need one more sentence. One more sentence loaded with facts to fulfill what the Hammer's actually asking for here. So let me just load this up here. I'm going to write something about the machine guns. 8 Browning machine guns were mounted in the Spitfire's wings, and these guns fired .303 rounds. Something you did not want to get hit with. So there you have it. Look, there's 3 sentences. And this is the lovely thing about the Hammer, because what the Hammer does, it's the first inductive paragraph form you teach a child, works brilliantly across the levels of schooling. But in the analytical form, you only need sentences like this to start things off. They're loosely around a topic, but there's no topic sentence. They're just facts, one after the other. By the time of the Battle of Britain in July 1940, the Royal Air Force had 372 Spitfires and 709 Hawker Hurricanes in its fighter aircraft. The Spitfire had a top speed of 594 kilometers per hour, which was 50k faster, 50 kilometers an hour faster than the Hurricane. You see, I might fix it up later. 8 Browning machine guns were mounted in the Spitfire's wings, and these guns fired 303 rounds. At this point, hearing this as a listener, do you think I know what I'm talking about? You absolutely do, because the facts have made my position believable. And you're waiting now after 3 sentences for where I go with this. And this is the beauty of the hammer paragraph, because where I go next, it doesn't matter. This was just the sort of plane Britain needed. At last, comma, the RAF had a plane that was a match for the German fighter aircraft. And though the Germans outnumbered the RAF, they were in for a nasty surprise. They seem to fluff up surprise. Last sentence, at the end of my 6. The Spitfire was waiting. Very short sentence, always a nice way to conclude a hammer paragraph. And you can see it on the screen. The great punchline in that paragraph has come right at the end. It's the penultimate sentence. Reader is now set up to go somewhere next, but the main topic, the main thought has been loaded at the end. It's the hammer is superb because it's the paragraph form. It's the only one really that honors the climax right at the end. It's if you're rolling the reader right through and then you can't see it, and there it is, loaded to it right at the end. So if you wanted to do something like this in a class and set it as part of a longer piece perhaps, because there are all sorts of useful images here. You've done your work as a teacher. I can click on any of these, blowing them up. You can see here even the detail you can get through Writer's Toolbox, because you can put highly detailed imagery and blow it up. I might say to the student, why don't you now develop this and go further? Lovely tool we built for that specific reason is this notebook. And I'm just going to click and give you a bit of a glimpse into the power of the notebook today. Every student, every person in Writer's Toolbox has their own notebook. It's automatically created with your license. And this is Boris Watson's. Think about it in the same terms as I've got a little journal next to me as I do my research that I can just throw my thoughts in. And then whatever I'm writing, it's there for me later in the future. Because you can create a notebook. Here we go. Battle of Britain task. And I can write a note. I can do that in that. I quite like that. I'm going to get that from the PDF. I'm going to put it right there. I can even go and grab, because I'm a, so I can cut and paste text across. I can drop in key facts in my notebook. Key fact, well, okay, the RAF lost 1,744 aircraft in the Battle of Britain. Key fact number 2 automatically starts, you see. The German Air Force lost over 2,500 aircraft. This is even more versatile than that, because I'm an industrial student and I've gone off and I've found some of my own pictures. I was dissatisfied with my teacher's pictures, and I'm going to go and find my own pictures on the RAF. And I found quite this good one here, look. And I can drop imagery into my notebook as well. And it stays there. It doesn't matter if I'm then off doing something else in the afternoon, an entirely different subject. I can make a notebook within that in my table of contents about that subject. But look, I can write a note about this image. And I can even take that image. I'll just click on my screen so I'm live again. I can write a note. Spotters used to stand on buildings in London looking for enemy aircraft. If I really quite like that image, I can not only look at it large and go, yep, that's quite a useful image. I could use that in my task, but I can take it from my notebook and I can do that. I love this feature. I got to tell you, I had them build the notebook, partly, I suppose, because I thought about my own writing process. And as I myself write, you know, and many of you, I'm sure, have done the same thing. You scribble down ideas. Some of you probably even have a book. I have a notebook I use. You scribble down ideas, you use stickies, you throw in imagery, you cut stuff in, you put it there. And you're flicking through as you're writing and you're working on your good copy somewhere else. The notebook allows you to do just that. You can have this useful resource right next to you at any time. And you throw in imagery, quotes, links to other things that then you can bring into the main document that you're working on at any point and start to build a larger and larger piece. So there we have it. Today I've shown you the PDF tool. We've had a look at the notebook, and we've had a look at this thing called the hammer paragraph and how using that device, when it's most useful in a task, you can have the student reveal at a key point at the very end of the paragraph the penultimate thought that they're conveying to the reader. So until next time, thanks for joining today.